Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be doing my April wrap up, and this is probably my best reading month in a while, to be honest. I read 8 books in total this month, which is I think the most for this year. Maybe I might have read that much in January, but it's really good. And I think you would have seen in maybe one of my reading vlogs or one that's coming up, kind of talk about how I started my job actually at this point at the beginning of May. So I tried to cram in a whole lot of reading before that because I knew that I obviously wouldn't have as much time to read. So that's kind of why I've read so many books, but they've all been really good books. Like I haven't rated any lower than a 3.5, and that's only a 3.5 because I kind of gone back on it and thought maybe I didn't like it as much as I thought. But I feel like we should just get straight into it. So the first book I finished in April was Practice Makes Perfect by Sarah Adams. I really enjoyed this. I can't remember if it was in a vlog, but I don't think it was, but I really loved it. I kind of mentioned, I think maybe in my March wrap up or something like that, that I wanted to read Practice Makes Perfect this spring because I read When in Rome last spring and it was a good time for it, and I feel like this was definitely a good time to read this one because it's not like too summery vibes. I wouldn't like say that you need to read it in summer or anything like that. It's just very like small town romance. And then obviously Annie is a florist as well, so it does kind of lean into the spring vibes, but you can obviously read it whenever you want. I just wouldn't say it's like a summer book. I think I wanted to save like some of my more summery books for summer. So I'm glad I read this. I gave it 4.25 stars, which is obviously really good. I did really like it. I much preferred this one to When in Rome. I didn't hate When in Rome, but I just didn't really connect to the romance in that book very much, and I kind of knew that I would like the characters in this one more anyway just because of what I've heard. So if you have read When in Rome and you weren't like too keen on it, definitely give this one a go. And this one's made me really excited to read Big Burrow or Steel, which is the third one. And I also feel like in this book you kind of get a little glimpse into what is going to be in the fourth book, which is obviously, I don't even think it's been announced yet, but I think it's coming. And yeah, I just really liked it. I don't really have too much to say because like not a lot happens in this book. It's just like a cute little romance. She is very into reading, so that was nice to read about, and then he kind of reads her books for her. So there's a lot of like little acts of service. I would say Will is actually very acts of service now that I think about it, because he doesn't even just do acts of service for Annie, he does it for like other people in the town. So if you're into that, give this one a go. I am someone that really values acts of service. I think it's like my highest love language by far. I can't even really tell you why it's only a 4.25. I think just because it's not like my favorite romance book ever, but I can definitely appreciate that I really enjoyed it. So the next book I read was Blue Sisters by Coco Mellows. I listened to this on audio and then like read bits of the book as I kind of went along, but I mostly listened to this one. And I don't have the physical copy of this one because I borrowed it off a friend, but I did really like this one. I feel like I maybe had too high expectations for it. I originally gave it a 3.75 stars, which I have since lowered to a 3.5 because I actually read a book, I finished one yesterday that felt more 3.75 to me. So I did really like it, but I feel like I'm not the target demographic for it because it's obviously a book about sisters. It's 3 sisters kind of navigating their life after one of their sisters has passed away, and I only have one brother. So one, I'm not in like a big sibling dynamic family, and 2, I just have a little brother, so I can't really relate to that aspect. And I feel like if I did have sisters, I would really have enjoyed this more. So that's like kind of where I'm feeling about it. I still did enjoy it. I liked how each sister was very different. Like you definitely knew who you were listening to or reading about in each of the chapters. But on the topic of not relating to it, I will say that I did relate to the older sister. I can't remember what her name was. Avery, I think. Yeah, Avery. I relate to her because obviously I am an older sister, so that aspect of it I did relate to. So definitely don't put this book off, but I will say that was probably the only aspect that I related to on a like family sibling dynamic level. But there's other stuff going on like in the family with the parents and stuff, so definitely other points that you can relate to. I will say I feel like the ending maybe could have been a bit better wrapped up. I think the ending was nice because of the like final event that happens in the ending, but these characters aren't perfect. Like I think literally every single one of their relationships, the 3 sisters, has something like a bit weird going on with it. So the ending, I liked it, but then the person that like has the special moment, she kind of has a bit of a weird relationship that kind of leads to that moment. without trying to spoil anything. And I would have rather that been a bit more wrapped up. Same with the older sister Avery. I would have rather had her relationship a bit more wrapped up. That's kind of how I feel about it. I think I would have rated it higher if I could relate to more of it, but I'm still really excited to read Cleopatra and Frankenstein, which I have on my bookcase. And yeah, so you would have seen these next few books in my Throne of Glass reading vlog, which gives you a little hint of what they are. The next book I finished was The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas. This was a 5-star, so if you watched that video you already know that, but I gave this one 5-star. I read it first as well, if anyone's interested in like where I'm getting my opinions from. I read this one first. I'm happy that I read it first. I feel like I wouldn't have been as connected to Selena or what happens in this book, because if you read the other two first, you kind of already know what's going to happen in this book. And I'm not going to lie, I did kind of know what was going to happen at the end of this book, but I obviously didn't know to the full extent, and I didn't know how like heartbroken I would be after reading this. So it was a 5-star. I was just really emotionally connected to this book. This one really got to me, and I feel like when a book can get to me like this, it's got to be like a 5-star. And yeah, I don't want to give any spoilers. Obviously, you can watch my Throne of Glass reading vlog if you want to hear more about my thoughts on this one, but I just really loved it, and I think it might be my favourite Sarah J Maas book so far, which is kind of crazy to say because it's literally like a little couple bonus chapters basically, but in the first book. Yeah, 5 stars. So then obviously I read Throne of Glass next. This was 4.25 stars. I did really like it, but I felt like you could tell that the writing was like earlier Sarah J Maas in this book. At least I'm pretty sure that's the case, because obviously Assassin's Blade came out after. This just felt a bit more juvenile in comparison to Assassin's Blade in terms of the writing and the plot a little bit. The Assassin's Blade definitely felt like a new idea, I guess, to me anyway, just based on what I've read like fantasy wise, whereas this one did just kind of feel like a lot of other fantasy books that I've read, and that's not a bad thing, because obviously I feel like every fantasy book I've read I've rated pretty highly, so I still really liked it and I really liked the storyline and the characters, but I didn't really like how this one ended off, I'm pretty sure. But then for Crown of Midnight I gave it a 4.5, so I preferred this one slightly more. I feel like I preferred it because it was less like similar to the other books that I've read. It's kind of diversifying itself a little bit. I'm not sure I necessarily preferred the plot in this one, but I preferred how Selena could act in this one. She had a bit more freedom. I also really liked Dorian's perspective in this book. You'll see in the reading vlog, but I want the best for Dorian. I am a big Dorian girl at the moment, but like Sam is still my favourite. I feel like all I can say is that I really enjoyed it, and I am really eager to get to the next book. I'm pushing it off a little bit, but I should be getting to Terrify soon. And then the next book I read was Fearless by Lauren Roberts. I wasn't going to read this one. Well, I was going to read this one, but I was going to read it on Kindle because I didn't want to buy the hardcover. That's a whole nother topic that I'm not going to talk about in this video, but I really hate that all these books coming out in hardcover. But I did read it because I didn't want to have too much spoil for me. I love this series. It's like my favourite series. I gave this one 4.5 stars. I'm not going to talk too much about it because it's coming up in a separate reading vlog that will be coming out maybe next week or the week after, but I did really like it. There was just some moments where I was kind of unsure as to why that happened. I obviously still gave it 4.5. I love Kai and Payton together. I love this world. Like, I don't want to ever leave this world. It's my favorite series, as I said. So that's why it's still so highly rated. I still like enjoyed my reading experience. I just feel like one too many characters were ruined in my eyes. And that's all I want to say, because I don't want to ruin it for anyone. I know a couple of people that watch this who want to start the series as well, so I don't want to spoil it for them. But yeah, if you haven't read the series, definitely give it a go. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone that's like really into fantasy, but if you're someone that's more like Sarah J Maas levels of fantasy, or you've read a lot of romance and you want to like dabble in fantasy, this series is really good. Then the 7th book I read was The Ex Vows by Jessica Joyce. This one is also coming up in a reading vlog that you will see in the next couple of weeks. So again, not going to say too much because I don't want to spoil those vlogs, but I did give it 5 stars. I really liked it. There's not much to say. I kind of say it all in the video that you'll see, but this book kind of solidified my love for second chance romances, but particularly friends to lovers to enemies, kind of second chance lovers. That makes sense, but I am someone that loves like particularly childhood friends to lovers, and they often have like a second chance linked into that. This one isn't. It kind of is childhood friends to lovers. That trope is just my favorite. Like every time it's gonna make me like feel something, but that trope always gets me, and I'm not really sure why, because I can't relate to it, and I feel like every book that I've read with that trope has been a 5-star or like a 4.75 star. Yeah, 5 stars for this one. I really love this one. And then the final book I listened to was Everything Happens for a Reason by Danny Kerr. This is a memoir by Danny Kerr. He is a rugby player. He plays for Harlequins, which is the team that I support, my family supports, but he also has played for England. I think he's had over 100 caps, so he's obviously a very like well established, well known England rugby player. I listened to this one, which I feel like I do prefer to listen to memoirs most of the time, just because it's normally narrated by the author or the person that it's written about. I don't rate memoirs, but I really liked it. I feel like anyone that's watching this that has any interest in sports would probably find this interesting. Anyone that watches rugby, you'll definitely find this interesting, because he talks about quite a lot of the scandals that have happened over his career. There were some moments where I was a bit like, I don't really know why you're bringing all this up. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed listening to his story. He talks a lot about his wife and his family, which was really nice. And yeah, I feel like that's all I want to say, because probably most people are not going to want to read that book. So those are the 8 books that I read in April. This was a really good reading month, as I did say. I don't think May is going to be as good because I've started my new job, but I'll obviously still do a May wrap up where you can see what I did read, and I'll have a few reading vlogs coming up that I've spoken about in this video. And yeah, I feel like I've got really back into reading at the moment. I just want to read all the time. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video.